You guys ready?
All right, let's do it live on a First Friday edition of the program. Merely Beau and the Great Z. How you living, pal?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great here on a Wednesday, getting closer and closer to training camp, which is exciting. You know, it's kind of like these weeks. We took that time away. I certainly did.
Yeah.
And then you come back, and it's like, I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to get into it. So now we're starting to do some position previews, which we'll start today.
That's exciting, yeah.
And talk about this Browns team, and it'll, go in line with what's going on the website as well. And we're going to have a whole 2-minute drill series of every single position. That, by the way, what's also going out that I really want to take a second and urge people to watch and to check out, because I'm very proud of them, and I think it's something we've never done before. We've done Browns breakdowns before, but we've never done it with the players' coaches.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
And so we've got already out there Alex Wright, MJ Emerson, and David Bell with Kiffin for Alex Wright, with Jeff Howard, the incomparable Jeff Howard for MJ Emerson, and then David Bell with Chad O'Shea, watching their tape from college, and in cases where it's applicable, and with the guys that aren't on the lines, watching their tape already from camp and breaking down what they can be for the Browns. So those are out. So we're starting to ramp up kind of some of our preview content. So that does get me a little bit excited. I'm also very excited about the fact that the Open is tomorrow at St. Andrews, and when we wake up, we'll be able to throw it on. You'll be able to have that as kind of a little side accoutrement for your other program, which will be just a real treat. And I'm happy to be with you.
Same.
Quick personal update though. Maverick will be tomorrow. Arden is she's working this summer, and she's
an angel, but I'm very disappointed in this news.
She has a cupcake something that she is presiding over from 6:30 to 7:30. The movie was at 7:20. Obviously, that doesn't work, so bumped till tomorrow. But
okay, but nevertheless, I'll believe it when the tickets are purchased, quite frankly.
Oh, they're purchased. They've been purchased, in
Seats
fact,
are ready?
3 different times.
Oh, okay. All
and
right.
transferred from this Wednesday, then to next Wednesday, because
yeah.
it turned out all different grandparents wanted to go to the movie with us. But
Oh,
then
wow.
next Wednesday doesn't work either, because it turns out we got a graduation party. So then we were back to third, and I said, that's it. And now not everybody can go that originally wanted to go, but too bad. We got to see this movie.
You have to see it.
I think it's going to be out of the theaters next Friday. Or I can't book beyond next Friday.
I can't imagine it's out of the theaters, because it was a full theater when I saw it last week for the second time.
Yeah, I don't know. The one good news is we got much better seats for Thursday's show than if we had gone tonight. If we'd gone tonight, which surprised me, I thought Thursday's more of a night out, but it's First Friday.
First Friday.
People are acting accordingly.
First Friday, yeah.
We weren't even going to be center, and we were going to be like kind of up. Now we're
middle
back.
Center.
Yeah,
middle
middle
to back,
back,
center.
dead
Yeah,
center.
that's where you
So
want to
now I'm almost more excited. And it feels like it's in a bigger theater. There's 2 extra rows compared to where it was on Wednesday. So
that's a win. This is a win then.
it feels like
good.
we've
All right,
moved
that's
around
good.
and moved ourselves. We've navigated ourselves into some better waters.
I cannot wait to talk to you about it.
I'm so excited.
I think it's going to be just spectacular to talk to you about it. It's fantastic. It's just it's a stunning achievement. It really is. You remember, and of course you do. I'm asking this. This is rhetorically. When Modes was at dinner with Cruz,
Modes was on the ship when they were filming.
right? Like there's some crazy data like on that. If you want to do like a 70, honestly, you could spend a whole day if you had a day on the internet in terms of it was like $11,000 an hour for them to use those F-18s that they use and
That's
fly
it?
them per plane.
That's it?
That's
Hold
a
on
lot.
a second. You're telling me
Well, my guess
Hold
is
on.
you get a deal because, as we know, you're promoting
Sure. But I
the
was gonna
Navy,
say,
so that's probably a cost only.
I could say for $11,000
Yeah.
for an hour of flying around
My
an
guess is
F-18,
that's just the fuel.
a lot of people would do that.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's just the fuel for that price. Like they gave him a deal. Like this
Okay.
is the cost of
If you
it
had the necessary means, I mean, who wouldn't want to do that?
for an hour. Yeah, it'd be a win. Feel like that would be a win. Yeah, like they made him do like 3-month boot camp to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Miles Teller, I'm excited to see him in this. So we started The Offer. Have you watched any of it?
No, I do not. I got too much stuff. I gotta chill
You
out
wrote
a
down
little bit.
Barry. I'm excited about that.
I got Barry.
Get into
The
Barry.
Offer. All right.
So The Offer, whenever, it's more a little bit long. Each episode's an hour. It's one season. It's the story, a dramatic series. It is truly the story of the making of The Godfather.
Of The Godfather. Okay.
How Al Ruddy got involved, how he convinced Francis Ford Coppola to get involved, how the mob tried to actually shut down the Colombo family from New York, tried to shut down the making of The Godfather with intimidation and some crazy stuff.
Right.
How Frank Sinatra and Francis Ford, I never knew this, Frank Sinatra and Francis Ford Coppola got into a fight at a restaurant in L.A. about it. Because Sinatra was pissed about the Johnny Fontane character
stuff.
and said it was, how dare you put this bad shine on me and on Italians. And they had a screaming match. It was a little over-dramatized, obviously, in the TV show, but that was, and the guy who created the series said that was the genesis. That one story that Sinatra and Francis Ford Coppola, two titans of their respective industries, almost came to blows in a Hollywood restaurant over this movie. He was like, that made me want to tell the whole story. And it turns out there was a lot of stuff. So there's the Civil Liberties, ACLU, American Civil. There was the Italian American, started by one of the mob families in New York that raised a bunch of money to obviously combat. It was to help their cause, first and foremost. But some of that was used to try to stop the making of The Godfather, which, as we know, is now one of the greatest films and classics of all time.
But I wonder, and this would be something I don't know. You and I are of an age to where, like, mafia movies were part of our life. And so it comes full circle for us because when we're not old enough for The Godfather, but I saw it very, very young.
Sure. Same
thing with Godfather 2. I do remember when Godfather 3 came out and that being a very, very big deal when that came out. But we also have Goodfellas. We have Casino. Like, this is in our formidable years. And then in college, high school, college, now you have The Sopranos. So you have, like, it is in our life for almost our entire lives. There's a 20-year period where it's omnipresent.
Because of The Godfather.
Exactly, which is where it was going to lead to this question for you. Is it also the end of the mafia? Is that because after that it's like and I'm not pretending like I'm a historian, but like it's John Gotti, and then it's it. It's still going, but it
still goes on.
Yeah, you see like the New York Post. You see somebody.
It's not but
it's not like
heyday.
The heyday.
Sure.
Of it all.
So one of the things they talked about in the show was that the last couple of gangster picks had totally flopped, and so they didn't want to make another gangster movie. But The Godfather, the book by Mario Puzo, was #1 bestseller for like 67 straight weeks. And they said and they bought the rights to it for $15,000. And then supposedly Warner tried to buy it from them for $1 million before they'd ever started making the movie. Something they paid $15,000 for $1 million. This is a long time ago. $1 million then is a massive amount of money. And they said, well, if he wants it for $1 million, there's got to be something we don't know. We've got to do it. So they end up and they do it, obviously. But that was a real pivot point for the genre. And then the success of it obviously led to, that's why there could be a Goodfellas, and that's why there could be The Sopranos, and that's why there could be Casino. But you're right, it is totally omnipresent in our lives, but it was almost going to be taken out, and the mob at that time was obviously very much against it, to the point where it's over-dramatized in the show, but Al Ruddy's car windows were bashed in, various other forms of intimidation to try to get this to be stopped, to drop it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fascinating premise. I will check it out. It allows for, I was just writing these down of like things that were, from an entertainment standpoint, that were all over our lives after The Godfather, into Goodfellas, into Casino. The Untouchables was a big film at that time. There's Once Upon a Time in America. There are a ton of these that hit at that point. And from a television series, you had both The Sopranos, which is the iconoclast, and then Boardwalk Empire is that too, and that was a great series as well. So all of that stuff happens, and I wonder. So you wonder if is that still that's not a genre anyone's peddling now? Like your kids would probably have no point of reference on that genre, and some of it is the proximity. Some of it is all of this happened for a long time. The other thing is like now we're at the point where the 1920s, and it's 100 years ago,
no doubt.
I mean, like when you're doing The Godfather, there were people that you could probably get who consulted on it who were in the mob.
Yeah.
Who were these people? Like Henry Hill was alive. I think he still is when they did Goodfellas. Like he lived that life. Is there that life to live anymore? They've tried to do a couple of gaudy things.
There's got to be some level of it. It's different. It's different. So I looked this up because I was curious about this, and the show obviously got me thinking about it. Has there ever been, and maybe there is, but I'm just going to throw this out there. Okay. Has there ever been a bigger heater than Francis Ford Coppola in the 70s? 3 movies he makes. 3. Actually,
Apocalypse Now.
Hold on. Godfather,
Yeah.
Godfather 2, Apocalypse Now, combined 29 Academy Award nominations, 11 wins in 1 decade.
You'd have to think. I mean, I'm trying to think of like Scorsese has a period that was like that. Have a heater like that with something. Probably not. Also, probably from the standpoint of at that time, movies were as big as movies could be. So that's maybe part of it too. Like the equivalent of that now might be the guys who did the Avengers stuff. Like Endgame. Like that's one of the most amazing achievements in film that they were able to, over the course of a decade plus, land the plane on the MCU and have all of those 20-some films or whatever it is, all line up and land. That's really, really tough. I mean, you're talking about those 3 movies. I mean, most people think Godfather 2 is the best movie ever, and if it's not Godfather 2, it's Godfather. So most people think those are the 2 best movies ever on a short list. Apocalypse Now is a lot going on for a guy like me. I saw it when I was young. I saw it when I was young. I haven't seen it probably 30 times. I haven't probably seen it in 30 years, I would say. Yeah. I saw it was probably like 12, 13. I haven't seen it since.
I told you about Big Lou, right?
Yeah. Yes. I believe you did.
So Big Lou was my buddy's dad, who was a vet, and whenever we would go over there, we would hang out with Big Lou and watch. It was on. I was probably there 50 times a year, or 50 times, summer when I'd be home, maybe 20 times, 30 times summer. Every time we were there, that night ended with Apocalypse Now. So, I mean, I've seen that movie a billion times.
Okay.
I know it as well as I know any movie. And it's intense.
Yeah, that's a hell of a way to end a night.
I owned, like, every version of it that was ever made. Then they did the Redux, which had a lot more of the French plantation stuff in there. I had all that. I had it all.
All right. I might have to give it a rewatch. It's been a long time. It's probably been 30 years since I've seen it. But no, I am interested. I am on the series. I have to finish one before I can start another.
Okay.
I don't like having two going at the same time. So I'll finish one and then I'll pop into another one.
I would say as an addendum to your rule and see if you agree with that.
I already know where you're going.
You can have a serious and a short comedy going on simultaneously.
You can absolutely watch Game of Thrones and Curb. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So Barry might work in that.
Barry is great.
Yeah.
I just want to hear. I want you to play. I think you'll go through it quick.
Okay.
But I can't wait to hear your take. And it takes a while for him to take off, but when he takes off, you'll know the moment, and you'll say, it's not really a moment. You'll just all of a sudden, you'll be like, oh, man.
Okay.
NoHo Hank is so good and such an incredible character. He's one of my favorite TV characters, period.
That's a bold statement because you've seen a lot of great TV.
Right. But if you're saying from a comedy standpoint, if you're making I'm going to call it a basketball team, is he like on my basketball team of 12, 13? Yeah, for sure. He might be at the end. He might be Jack Haley, waving a towel around and watching Dennis Rodman, but he's there.
All right. I look forward to this. I very much look forward to this.
Are you looking up NoHo Hank?
No, I don't want it. I don't want to because I'm hoping that because I probably won't watch it for
such a look.
I probably got at least another week before I'm gonna be able to get into it, and then I'll be into it because I have a schedule of things that I've got to get done here on that front. I did see some reporting I was looking for this. I just saw this from a football standpoint that I thought we should pass along.
Oh, baby.
That we are still interested in Ndamukong Suh. There's some reporting that we're still interested in Ndamukong Suh, but that will be something as it gets closer to camp, of course.
I've seen people say that, and I've also seen a lot of people who cover the Browns shut that down. Say that actually no, the Browns remained not interested.
Oh yeah, Brad just tweeted that as well.
Brad says that, yeah. Amongst others.
Who knows?
Who knows?
If the opportunity presents and you say, hey, would you? Yeah, sure. Like I can't imagine being like, nah, we're good. And Ndamukong Suh calls you and goes, hey, any chance I could give it a run? Can't imagine you'd be like, nah, we're good. We'll see you later. We don't want to kick the tires on you.
Tyler Dragon, which is an incredible name.
It's a great name.
The Tyler Dragon is the one who is saying that the Browns are potentially interested. But then other people, Brad in particular, saying no, nay.
Yeah. Got a quick question from Zach on the social. He wants a go-to drink at the following event settings: wedding, sporting event, beach, boat, pool, concert, cookout, movie night at the house. So this is summer drinking. You and I are aligned on one of these. There's several of great ones. I love rodeo beers, which is Yeti, ice, and lime.
Yeah.
You go Yellow Jackets in that. You can go Modelo, any of that. All of that's a win. I love a tequila with
Ranch
lime
water.
and on rocks. Ranch water is spectacular.
Sure.
Tequila with a little bit of seltzer water.
Yeah.
A Topo Chico, if you like, which
Lots
is my
of
favorite.
jalapenos. You gotta have the Topo Chico.
A lot of lime in that. That's a
Tons.
big time win.
Yeah.
Another one was the Uncle Stan, which is the tequila with the lemonade vitamin water. That's a real treat as well. All of those would be winners.
I love a John Daly in the summer.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about vodka, but I do. That's a
so
pretty
you
good
can
one.
have a Juan Daly.
Yeah, I could do that way.
Tequila.
Yeah, there you go.
Anything with
That's a
tequila is good. And then I haven't done it this year. Maybe it's because I'm old now. Maybe at 44 I've finally moved on. But a part of me wants to dial one up one time. It is vodka, which you do not love, but a little vodka, a little Diet Sunkist, and a few jalapenos in there. Ooh, baby.
I'll tell you something you could substitute for the vodka, and you wouldn't even need the orange soda. There's a company out of Columbus, High Bank Distillery, that makes a State House gin that is aged in I want to say it's a Cabernet barrel.
Okay.
That the gin, and I'm not a gin.
I'm
like
not a
that's
gin person
way
at all.
way down.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
like juniper. I don't like any of that.
No.
This, honest to goodness, it tastes like an orange kiss,
Oh,
like
baby.
a sun kissed. Like I
Okay.
don't know how they pulled it off, but it did. And that's one that would be good on those type of things. We had a bunch of the kids over to play basketball yesterday. I don't know if I told you this. We had a bunch of kids over to play, like 6 10-year-olds, and then counting my own, and then the 2 8-year-olds, and then Bootsy was despondent because I said, you can't play. There's no way you can play. And then that's just tears. And he's like, why can't I? I don't understand, why can't I play? I said, buddy, these are big kids. Like, they're rambunctious. They're loud. They're just bigger. Like, it's 4 years different. Like, imagine you playing against a 2-year-old. Like, you get hurt. He's just dying, crying, and he goes, you don't even believe in me. Which is like all there is belief in him. His whole life is based on everyone believing in him.
His ability to pull these lines out is
really remarkable.
Something to
yeah,
behold.
That's what he said as he stomped off. You don't even believe in me. So we allowed for them to play. So my wife got a little ambitious. There were a lot of kids.
Sure.
At 10 is a lot, and it was and you had a lot going on. You're playing the full court. And so the 2 8-year-olds were like, this was like their first time being exposed. Interesting.
Yeah.
It was their first time being exposed to like people 2 years older than them.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit like dropping a kid, like saying, hey, man, you want to go to the jungle? Yeah, the jungle's awesome. All the cool animals, everything. And then you throw them in the jungle.
Yeah, there's
and they're like,
leopards,
oh, my
panthers.
God, what am I? Can I
Yeah.
get out alive? And then so by the time it's over, I asked Beamsy, I said, well, what did you think? Did you like it? He goes, I don't think I want to do that again, Dad. I don't want to play with those guys again.
It's
and I
too
said,
much.
I don't blame you. It's a
Yeah.
lot going on. And my wife,
Seventh
God bless
graders
her.
would like smoke fifth graders. Fifth
yes,
graders would
of course.
smoke third graders.
Well, and just the physicality and the stuff that comes out of their
Yes.
mouths. It's just a lot going on.
it's aggressive.
Very aggressive. My wife, who had, God bless her, had 2 sisters and has no real point of I've always coached all this stuff, so I know how boys are. She had no point of reference on like the type of danger that they will forever chase, always. So that pool slide that I had, I'm like, that's coming out. She got so mad at me. She's like, why were you taking that out? The kids are gonna love to go down that. I said, well, they're gonna wrestle on top of it. Some kid's gonna fall off and crack his head on the pool deck,
concrete.
and then it's on me. We're not. You got to eliminate the
Get that out of there. Right.
Get it out. We have like some sort of a PBR bull thing that the kids ride. Get it out. That thing's got to go. She turned her head for a minute, and it was just chaos. I'm like,
It's like the
this
scene,
is it. You can't
it's
do
the
it.
caddy's day at the pool.
It's Caddy's day at the pool. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yep. And maybe even the Baby Ruth. Who knows by the time it's all said and done.
It's not out of the question.
No.
It's in play.
It's absolutely in play. All right. We will, as Z mentioned, this will be exciting. We'll do the running back preview. We'll talk a little bit of the Open Championship as well. We'll do the running back position preview today. This is probably, I mean, there's a lot of talent in this room, obviously, but how it shakes is going to be really fascinating to me, what this room looks like by the time all is said and done. There's a few things happening around the league. We'll go around the league as well. Coming up in the second hour of the program, we'll talk a little bit about golf, and then we have a TBD segment.
I like that.
TBD.
The boys
It's in
debate.
play. The boys debate. That's coming up. We're off and running on a First Friday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. The Bath Authority gives you that bathroom of your dreams. They can transform your current bathroom into a custom bath. It'll feel like a spa. Let the Bath Authority make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is our area's premier bath and shower remodeler. They are experts and factory-trained installers. You give them a call right now. You get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. That number is 216-220-8399 or go to thebathauthority.com. It's where affordability meets quality. The largest selection of bath projects, all made in the United States. You can change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. You can do it in about a day with the Bath Authority. Superior products, expert installers at 216-220-8399 or go to thebathauthority.com. Get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. Tell them that Beau sent you, and they will take care of you as we go around the league. The Bears, I mean, this is you tell me what's the bigger thing. The fact that they acquire a guy who was a first-round pick a couple of years ago in N'Keal Harry from the Patriots for a seventh-round pick, or the fact that Bill Belichick cannot draft skill position players.
He can't do it. If you look at the receivers that they've drafted in the first
unreal.
or second rounds, it really is wild. Now, he did okay with tight ends, obviously. Gronk and then Aaron Hernandez before.
Murder?
Yes. He's actually drafted some good running backs. He's done a good job with there. Now, Larry Maroney didn't pan out exactly the way they would have wanted, but Ridley gave them some nice seasons. They had
but never a dude like Sony Michel over Nick Chubb.
Sure. Sugar Shane Vereen was solid for a while.
Right.
Damian Harris was very nice for them last year. But never a defining guy. Receiver-wise, here's a guy 6'4", 225, looked a lot like DK Metcalf, and yet in his career, 57 catches, 598 yards, and a total of 4 touchdowns. That's it. It's somebody who maybe can do something for Justin Fields, but you wouldn't count on it. There aren't a lot of examples of receivers that were first-round picks that kind of busted out completely, then going somewhere else and becoming good.
No, that's true. He just misses.
It's just there's not a lot of precedent for that. And typically with a guy his size, you would say, all right, well, why isn't it working? Then he can't separate, and he's not maybe great in contested catch situations. Now, we're talking about somebody who's averaged 5.8 yards a target, folks. That is not good. That is, in fact, that's dreadful. It's an awful number. Now, he did have career high 8.4 last year. It gives them something else. Mooney's not a big guy. They lost Allen Robinson. Gives them a bigger-bodied receiver. I'm not optimistic. Now, what's crazy to me is that people were saying how incredible it was that they were able to get rid of a first-round pick, that a guy was a first-round pick, and by the way, 32nd pick, so the last pick of the first round in 2019, and in 4 years, all he could fetch was a 7th-rounder. I still think it's more shocking, and again, I would say wrong by the rest of the NFL, that the first pick in the draft, who plays the most important position in football, who did take a team to the playoffs, who did win a playoff game with that team, fetched a conditional 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
That, to me, is way more insane than this guy getting a 7th-round pick. Now,
no, I think because of what we talked about yesterday.
Fine.
It's just a different way that they're viewing quarterbacks. Like, they're just not – they don't want good.
It still feels like a 4th-round pick, a 3rd-round pick.
But you don't want it.
You don't want it.
You don't want it. It's honestly, it's not even a 5th because you're paying $10 million of it.
Why did they think a year ago, and I'll take the Panthers as the organization, why did they think a year ago that Sam Darnold was better than Baker Mayfield?
Well, I think the reason you do that is at the time when you acquire Darnold, you're saying, well, that's just because he's with the Jets. And once we get our hands on him, that's why that happens. And where Bake, you had all of last year.
Sure.
So you had 2 seasons of not great.
Sure.
So that's your point is well made.
They're like, oh my God, a former first rounder, only 7th rounder now. We're talking about the number 1 pick of the draft, guy who plays quarterback and has taken a team to the playoffs and won.
Yeah, it's just it's the philosophy around the position.
Yeah,
and how it is, and it speaks to also how brutal the Bears situation is in all of this. That this is like, oh my God, they got a starting receiver, guy who did all the things you just said, or rather didn't do any of the things that he was expected to do, and now he's a guy that they hope can somehow salvage the position for the Bears. So that tells you a little bit of it. The funniest thing I've seen on this, and I will not pretend that I thought that the video was funny initially. Until you totally, and I still don't even understand it. Have you seen that video of the dad, like one hand throwing his toddler into the pool? Have you seen this?
No.
Connor with a K. Have you seen
I've
this?
seen it. Yeah.
What?
It's going around the Twitter.
Okay.
Now the idea with this is the kid has been through some sort of swim training.
Like 8 weeks of swim training.
8 weeks of swim training. I would say, from my experience being the father of 3 young of these type of people, that my guess is this is about 18 months. Is my guess.
Just about. Yeah.
I don't know if it's even. Do we know the age?
No, we do not.
It looks like 18 months to me, or 2 years, or just a little
Is
younger.
this recent or is it an old video?
I saw it yesterday.
It's been in the last
Instagram.
24 hours.
Yeah. Like throws him in from his legs, and then the kid flops in the pool, and then turns to his back, and then he's able to breathe.
What?
All right.
Like,
So,
is it bad? Is it go like? There's stuff from 2014 that I see in Arizona where somebody got arrested.
here it is.
Yep, that's it.
You got a handle on it now?
Okay. Proud father. I mean, there's
So it's something like 4 weeks since we started safety classes. My son graduated today, officially water safe. Last class, he get to go in with 4 layers of clothing, including 2 diapers, more than doubling his weight in water. And he just like throws him in like you would throw in a dog.
I just feel like there's another way to get him into the
in
water.
there, yeah, as opposed to just
Maybe
Yeah.
just softly dropping him in there,
Or just let him
possibly.
jump in off of. Let him jump in.
Well, I don't know that he can even walk.
Right.
I mean, I think he's
He's a young kid.
a really young. I mean, he's less than 2.
All right, let's at least turn it into like a wrestling move. Give him like a razor's edge or something fun. Like that looks insane.
Well, I don't know that anything in
tossing
terms
around
of
like a
throwing a
chicken.
2-year-old. He's just
He's tossing like he's got a chicken by its legs and he's just tossing
slinging it in. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, the tweet that the kid is fine. If you get past the emotional scarring, but the funny thing was this is the equivalent of what the Bears did to Justin Fields in Cleveland. Was that?
There you go. That's a good way to bring it full circle.
That was a good way to bring it all the way around.
Yeah.
Chiefs tackle Orlando Brown Jr. not close to an extension with the Chiefs. Plans on holding out for some, if not all, of the preseason. We do a thing on another thing that I do where we go thing or not a thing, not a thing. Not a thing.
No.
Not a thing. Also not a thing. Le'Veon Bell makes it official. He won't be playing in the NFL this season. He shifts to focus on boxing. Well, nobody wants you either.
Hold on a second.
You've tried it a lot.
This is a thing.
Nah.
Not about football. But isn't he fighting Adrian Peterson?
I think that is it. Yeah.
That's
I believe
a thing.
that's it. Is it?
I think it's for the Logan Paul fight. I think it's like an undercard.
Yeah,
I
July
believe.
30th.
I'll tell you one thing
Le'Veon
that
Bell against Adrian, and I think Adrian Peterson is gonna absolutely
demolish him.
annihilate him.
I would think, but he's quite a bit younger than Peterson, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
Maybe like 10 years,
I would say so.
5 to
Close
7 years at least.
All right, here we go.
Yeah,
Bell,
Adrian Peterson is
Bell
he's got to be
30.
Yeah,
Peterson 37.
Yeah.
Now this I would not have had. Height both 6'1", weight Bell 225, Peterson 217.
Yeah. I mean I covered Le'Veon Bell in high school. He's from Columbus.
Bell 2-time first team All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler. Peterson 4-time first team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, NFL MVP and Offensive Player of the Year.
There are a few people his bright comet, Le'Veon Bell's comet 2 years where he was like the best back in football and was the best fantasy player and the best everything, to, I'm not going to play. And then
Gone.
all the off-field stuff.
It says bright
This
account.
debacle.
It's an up and out, kind of like Priest Holmes. Priest Holmes for a couple of years was.
But felt like Priest wasn't of his own doing.
No, it was just.
This is just all of this was Le'Veon Bell's own doing.
So here's a little note, though. So Bell, boxing has long been a passion for Le'Veon Bell. He used the sport as cardio during his time with the Steelers. It grew during his year away football in 2018. So he's been doing a lot of boxing training. Do we know about Adrian Peterson doing boxing training? I mean, I just don't like betting against Adrian Peterson, but Le'Veon Bell, maybe Le'Veon Bell's going to just come in here and knock him out. That would be a noteworthy outcome to me.
Let me give you a scenario. What about prime Bell versus prime Peterson? Who would win?
Like on the field or in
Just like in
a
their prime,
fight?
in their prime,
In a
like
fight
their
to-
peak.
Or just on the field? Like who's
Like,
the better?
No. We'll for a
Are we
boxing
doing
match.
like for a boxing match?
Hypothetically, correct.
It's hard for me to imagine anyone physically more imposing than Adrian Peterson,
Right.
but I also don't know if he can box.
Fair point.
You know, like if you're a fan of The Wire, like is he at Cuddy's getting some work in, or is he not? I don't know. Le'Veon Bell might have been getting some work in.
True.
Does he know how to throw the hands? You got to know how to do it.
You got to know how to do it.
And I don't know if I'm not sure if he does on that front. I will not be watching that. I will not be. What do you got?
So I started with the tale of Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we're told, I just get text from Arden as we're on the air, Cupcake Wars is moved to tomorrow because of the rain. So now we got to go try and go back
Today?
to today because tomorrow's
Because of the
now
rain.
out.
What's wrong with the rain?
I
It's
don't
not
know. It's
raining.
going to rain.
What are you talking about? It's going to rain.
I don't know. Why is it so hard to see a film?
You're trying to get too many people involved. That's the problem. You're trying to feed too many mouths here. Like,
Yeah.
this is what you need to do. You just need to go see it today or tomorrow and just say, unfortunately,
Well,
I'll
now
take
I've
you
gotta
guys another
go.
time, take the kids another time.
No, but now
let's be honest, you're probably more jacked to see it than they are anyway.
we can do it today now, but now we've got to that's just
I don't sense that there's any reign of significance.
listen, she doesn't control the Cupcake Wars. She's just a part of the Cupcake Wars.
I don't even know what that is.
Me neither.
All right. What you do know about is a running back position group preview, and we will do that coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. training. My God, you said earlier. You said you were excited for. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not yet. I'm not ready for it
Well,
yet.
we're waiting on something.
Because it is kind of a. Well, yeah, that. But even that aside, it does feel like once that happens, summer's over.
Okay.
Once that happens, it's fall, and I know it's crazy because it's like late July, but it does feel like summer's over. Go ahead.
Real quick, Jack of Hearts wrote us, said maybe Spielberg from 75 to 85. He had Jaws, Close Encounters, Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., Poltergeist, Indiana Jones 2, The Color Purple, and Goonies. 38 Oscar noms. So it's 30. That's significantly more films.
Well, just instead, don't go for such a long period of time. What did he start with?
Jaws,
So go Jaws.
E.T., Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Go
Goonies is pretty good too.
Yeah, but it's not like
no, it's not
not
not a film of consequence. Although it's one that I
it's
love.
fun. I've seen it a lot, but it's not. Yeah, the Indiana Jones, E.T., Jaws, those three would be in the realm of that. It's a good job out of him. All right. Training camp position preview. Running back. We're loaded. Lots of names. Among those, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson, Demetric Felton, John Kelly, and Jerome Ford. Johnny Stanton is in this room as well. The first question from Gibby, fact or fiction? The running back room is the biggest position of strength in the Browns offense.
The running back room, that is a fact. It is the biggest position of strength on the Browns offense. I will also go so far as to say that it is the best single position group on any team in the league, period. End of story. It is the best position group in the National Football League, period.
That's such a bold statement. Like, I feel like I need to pull up and
Is it?
I feel like it's well, I mean, I think of like the Bengals receiver room's pretty good.
Okay, but you're supposed to
I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Like, I wasn't prepared for you to go so bold.
All right, hold on.
Right out of the gates. Like, I feel like I want to look at the teams and see if anything comes to mind to me that's stronger.
Here's the difference, okay? You're supposed to have 3 receivers in the NFL now, right? You have 3 starters. You have 1 starting running back. If your starting running back goes down, or let's say you lost Jamar Chase. So if the Browns lose Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt's your starter. If
the
they
only
lost
thing I
Chase
think is
and
fair,
Higgins, then they're starting Boyd and who?
True. The only thing that I think that the one thing you do have to say about Kareem is, I mean, he was hurt a lot last year. So, like, as long as we've had Chubb and Hunt, they haven't played that much together, both healthy.
No, in the one year they did, they became only the 4th running back team in the history of the league to have more than 1,200 total yards and 12 touchdowns in the same season, including the postseason.
We just don't have – that's the only problem is they just don't – the health hasn't been there as much as we would have liked it.
Okay.
And so that's it. I'm trying to think of –
Well, let me throw one more thing for you.
All right,
so then you lose Nick Chubb. Then you lose Kareem Hunt. So that would be the equivalent of the top 4 receivers in Cincinnati going down, right? If you're using them as an example. Then we come to Dearness Johnson. Dearness Johnson last year, 100 carries, 534 yards, 3 touchdowns in 2 starts, one against Denver, one against New England. 245 yards rushing, 6 yards a carry, 9 catches, 80 yards, 325 total yards, 1 touchdown. He was the FedEx Ground Player of the Week in Thursday Night Football against the Denver Broncos. He had PFF's highest running grade of the season last year, 90.6, and he's our 3rd running back.
It's also strange because of the position that it is. It's a position that around the league is not valued, and we have an abundance of wealth at it.
Abundanza.
In a front office that is analytically driven, position value versus what we're paying people versus what it's worth, all of that, it's a wild predicament. It's a wonderful predicament, but there's too many.
And now you add Jerome Ford into
who we like a lot, the
like
former Bama guy who's good at Cincinnati, and Demetric Felton's can play a lot of things. Like, it's an abundance of riches at a position that you wouldn't think you'd have an abundance of riches of, or you would even need.
Here's what I would say. You can make a legitimate argument that we have the best starting running back in the NFL.
Yes, fact.
I don't think there is an argument as to whether or not we have the best 1-2 running back group in the NFL.
No, certainly not.
And I don't think there's an argument that we have the best 1-2-3 running back group in the NFL.
I don't have a problem with any of that.
So there it is.
Yeah, it's just the value of the position versus receiver is kind of the only thing. I think that's the only tricky part of it. I went through them, and I don't know that there is. I mean, there's several receiving rooms that are really good. Like Miami's receiving room is really good. Denver's is pretty good. The Bengals is really good. Minnesota's is pretty good. Like there's a few of those receiver rooms out there. I just went offense right away. I was trying to think defensively. Is there anything that I'm missing defensively? Is there a D-line room that would be better, or a corner room? I mean, our secondary is one of the best. Probably not. It probably isn't. I mean, it probably is. I mean, you said it felt bold, and then it caught me off guard. But as I just kind of go through the league, it's probably a true statement.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it is.
Here's some of the facts for you. Nick Chubb, last year, 14 games, 1,259 yards, 5.5 yards a carry, 8 touchdowns. Second in the league in yards, third in yards per carry, second in yards after contact, second in yards after contact per attempt, second with 41 runs of 10 yards or more, named the Pro Bowl for the third straight season. First Browns running back to do so since Leroy Kelly in 67 to 72. Jim Brown, the only other Browns running back to be named the Pro Bowl 3 straight years. 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, averaging 1,273 yards and 9.3 rushing touchdowns per season, never below 5 yards per carry or 8 rushing touchdowns in a season, and doing that while never getting the workload of a Dalvin Cook, of a Jonathan Taylor, of a Derrick Henry. So that's impressive me. Hunt last year, you mentioned him, first 6 games before he got injured against Arizona, 361 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns, 161 yards receiving. So 522 total yards and 5 touchdowns in the first 6 games. So basically 85 total yards and a touchdown a game as a compliment to Nick Chubb.
His injury was crippling.
Yeah, his 17-game
really
pace,
crippling.
if you took what he did in 8 games, his 17-game pace last year was 1,200 total yards and 11 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Hunt.
Yeah. Yep.
Then you go to Dearness. I mentioned what he did. Guy ran for 500 yards, 5.3 a carry. So we had 4.9 yards per carry for Hunt, 5.5 for Chubb, 5.3 for Dearness Johnson. As I mentioned in the 2 starts, what he did. And then now you add to the mix, you had Jerome Ford. Ford last year was star at Cincinnati, 1,319 yards rushing, 19 rushing touchdowns, 6.1 yards carry. These are college numbers, but the 19 tied the school record there. Fast and explosive with power, has good skills catching because he was at such – and this is still one of the things that's so hard for me to get my head around. Jerome Ford was so good in high school that he was recruited by Nick Saban, who landed a helicopter at his field to bring him to Alabama as a running back. But his high school running back room was so good, he played receiver.
That's right.
Like, that's crazy to me. So you've got him. Also in the mix, John Kelly, who was in 4 games this year, 2 carries for 13 yards, former 6th-round pick of the Rams, who's been with the Browns on the practice squad for the majority of the last 2 seasons. Demetric Felton, is he a running back? I don't know. It looked like they moved him pretty full-time to receiver in the end of OTAs and into minicamp. So that
was after he was just going to be a running back before.
That's what they just said. And then I think, listen, this is what I think. This is not a scores in terms this was told to me. This is just me looking at it and saying, okay, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson, Jerome Ford is as good as advertised and a pure running back. Like, Demetric Felton's going to make this team. He's going to have to make it as a receiver or because of his versatility. Like, I don't think it's a lock he makes team, and I think it would be much harder for him to make – they're not carrying 5 running backs than it would be for him to try to make it as a receiver and special teams guy. Then you got Stanton at the fullback. He's your only fullback, but he's really spent a lot of time at tight end this offseason. And I think that, he can make it as the 4th tight end / the fullback, which is a good spot for him.
Thing,
and he's a very talented guy and kind of a Swiss Army knife. So he's, I think, obviously a very good player. But this room is absolutely loaded. And I think, it's a factor fiction, which is funny. Please read the Factor Fiction.
All right, Factor Fiction from Gibby, Dr. Z. The only question about this room is how many running backs end up on the 53-man roster.
So the question is a question. Like, am I? So to me, what he's saying is the thing that I'm saying Factor Fiction about, that the only question.
You're saying the Factor Fiction is the only question is how many make the roster.
Yeah, I say fiction. I think there are a lot of questions. How do we see more of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb together this year?
We have no idea what this will look like with Deshaun Watson.
Correct. So I think there are a lot of questions.
So it's actually, despite how many they have,
I think there's going to be
and
4,
how it's been used in the past, we have no idea. We have a little idea because we saw OTAs.
Yeah.
But my guess is we spend a lot more time in the gun.
Yep.
I think predominantly would be my guess.
Yeah.
I think you could have instances where both of these guys stand next to Deshaun Watson and they're both in there, whether it's Kareem and Nick or it's Nick and Dearness or whatever. Like you want your best 11 football players on the field, and Watson's ability to run, it's a game changer for these guys. It's an absolute game changer. Understand that what Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Dearness have done historically here, especially the last couple of years, has been done so. Last year especially was done so with 8 or 9 man boxes on the reg, as Kenny Powers would say. That's done, man.
Yes.
When number 4's back there, that's done. So now all of a sudden, not only forget how well he throws the ball and how he'll be able to throw it to the entire part of the field.
Of course.
He can now also fake the handoff, boot, and go.
Run RPOs. You could do. They had. We've seen some things already in camp where it's a fake inside RPO, and then he runs out, and then Kareem had come from the other slot, running kind of an option with him, like a triple option with Watson, Kareem, and Nick Chubb. So there's a lot of things that they're able to do with these guys, and I think that's what's, to me, how do they get used? That's a big question. I think 4 will make the team. I think Chubb, Hunt, Johnson, and Jerome Ford. The other question, and I would say, is there another question? The other question, does a trade come out of this room?
Well, it would be the room to have one if there is an injury at the position. I mean, you think about, was it Cam Akers last year at the beginning of the year for the Rams who got hurt? And then, you're like, wow, we're contenders. We got to have somebody here who can do this. That's where those type of things happen. You also isn't one of the big topics through this offseason has been Kareem with the extension and wanting one and what all that is. And so there's a lot of question marks to this. And it's despite all of the known talent, there's a lot of unknowns in terms of what this is going to look like by the time we get to September.
Could not agree anymore. A lot of unknowns. By the way, I want to just throw this out there real quickly. We're talking about Nick Chubb, just to give some perspective for Nick Chubb. 2019, Nick Chubb, 298 rushes. That was the most that he's had in a season. He averages for his career 227 carries per season. And as I mentioned, 1494, 1259, 1067, 996. Okay, Derrick Henry, just to give people some idea of what we're talking about here. And last year, by the way, when he was second league in rushing, he had 228 carries. Henry got hurt last year. We know that. Before that, though, the 2 years before he got hurt. So Derrick Henry, this is a great perspective. Derrick Henry in 2019, 303 carries. Derrick Henry 2020, by the way, he ran for 2,027 yards that year, 378 carries. Last year in 8 games, okay, Nick Chubb in 14 games had 228 carries last year. How many do you think Derrick Henry had in 8 games?
180.
Feels like a reasonable guess. 219.
God.
219 carries in 8 games. By the way, Nick Chubb, 228 for 1259. Derrick Henry, 219 carries in that season. I went back to Nick Heel here. Give me Derrick Henry, my friend here on Pro Football Reference. 219 for 937.
Yeah, I mean, I think, big picture, there's a couple of things here. Like, it's very much in play that Nick Chubb could have 1,800 yards this year. To me,
if he ever gets a season where he gets
with
those
a full
kind of
healthy season with 270 carries, with this not facing 8-9 man fronts, the type of lanes he's going to be able to run through.
Oh yeah,
it's all in play. It's absolutely all in play.
Here's another one. Jonathan Taylor last year leads the NFL in rushing, 1,811 yards, 5.5 yards a carry, same as Chubb. 332 carries.
Yeah.
100 more than Nick Chubb.
Right. Yeah.
So, number one, he's not taken those monster seasons that tend to lead to a breaking point. Now, he has missed some time. Last year he had that missed the 4 games. However, he's never gotten that type of a workload. And I'm curious, the other guy who I think is kind of in that level is Dalvin as a runner. Alvin Kamara has been one of the great weapons in the league.
Yeah.
Even Dalvin, 14 games, 250. 14 games, 312. 13 games, 250. So he's out-carried Nick Chubb as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Nick's never been, here's the ball, go. 32 carries. Like, that's never been. Now, that prolongs his career, hopefully, is what we want, is so that this can last for a long time with him playing at this level. So we'll keep, and by the way, you have videos posting now in terms of corroborating this and with or collaborating with this in the sense of the position previews are up as well. So that I just saw that drop here in the last little bit. So that to look forward to, which is very, very nice.
Very nice.
Coming up at the top of the hour, as good a use of Instagram as I've ever seen from Zach Wilson. I'll tell you what he put. He posted. He's spoken. We'll get to that, among other things, here in the final hour. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family-owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer, as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. All right, Zach Wilson, Jets quarterback. The location is Gaza Ranch, Idaho.
Yep.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Here's the post. Took the boys to Gozer Ranch Club in Idaho before camp. Poor cell service. What I miss.
Isn't it, what's the picture?
It's him slinging it.
Unreal.
They got a field there. They got a field striped out. He's got a bunch of his Jets buddies there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're frolicking in the lake.
What I miss.
What I miss. I mean,
Unreal.
we got a ski boat, so we've got some sort of the wakeboarding is happening.
Yeah.
We've got fire pits outside. There's hugs and embraces.
Of course there are.
I'm going to tell you what. It's a lot of people like to go west. A lot of people will go out there to ski. No, I mean skiing's great, but summer out west is where it's at. You're talking about warm days. You're talking about lakes and cool, crisp nights.
It's a delight.
It's a delight. Look at this. Is there a cloud in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho?
No.
No,
It looks beautiful.
there's not a cloud.
I wonder if they're going to go golf on the.
They did.
They did. Did they play it on that on Coeur d'Alene?
The Lake
floating
Coeur d'Alene
green?
Resort. Yeah,
Sure,
that was
sure.
yeah. I don't know if they did that, but this looks like this place is probably all inclusive. It's probably like that place in Montana, that Yellowstone Club, where everybody just goes in and
Has a great time.
has a great time, and they're left alone.
Yeah.
That's the way that goes. All right, let me see. What does Gibby have here for us? He's got a top 10 running backs as voted by NFL executives and coaches. It's got Nick Chubb number 3 on this list. Derrick Henry was 1. Jonathan Taylor was 2. There's no way Derrick Henry's a better running back than Nick Chubb right now. He's been unbelievable, but I do feel like it's over.
Yes, but we'll see. I'm not ready to write him off yet. But I mean, when you've got a 2,000-yard season under your belt,
He's
in
a beast.
Recent history,
It's just-
2 years ago.
He was ridden
yeah.
so hard.
Oh yeah, completely. I am surprised though that Kareem doesn't even make it into the honorable mention category.
I just think it's just the injuries.
It's the injuries that he's 1 year of being injured, but it's the injuries. It's the the time that was missed. It's been a while since he was the leading rusher in the National Football League. That I understand, but I still think Kareem Hunt, in a lot of places, and if he was in a place where he was the guy, I do think Kareem Hunt has an absolute opportunity to be a top 10 running back in the league. I mean, you looked at the numbers that he put up in tandem with Nick Chubb. He was averaging, what did I say, 85 total yards and a touchdown per game through the first 6.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable when you look. So first of all, I'm sure you have it up, so you probably know. But would you have known that Kareem Hunt is what his age is?
I don't have it up. My guess is, off the top of my head, he was a rookie in 2017. Is that when he led the league in rushing?
Yes.
So 27?
He's 26.
26.
Which
That
is
I would not.
pretty young.
Very young.
Which is still very, very young. Now he'll turn 27 in this season, but he's still very, very young. So you were doing the carries thing, right? So you want to talk about tread on the tire. Kareem Hunt, 272 carries when he led the league in rushing as a rookie in Kansas City, 13.27 per game that season, almost 5 yards an attempt. He added another 455 through the air, so it's 1,800 yards. It's 8.6 a reception. The second season in Kansas City, before the suspension, he's 824 and 7 touchdowns.
Do you have the game logs? Do you see the game against the Browns?
I remember that game quite well.
Yeah, he was AFC Offensive Player of the Week.
14 yards of reception through the air, 378 through the air that year. Then the shortened season for us, where he plays half the season, plays 8 games in 2019, which is just a debacle of a season across the board.
Yep.
But then in 2020, year 1 with Stefanski, he plays all 16 games. He starts 5, 841, 4 yards a carry. It's another 304 through the air. He's got 5 touchdowns through the air. He's got another, what's he got on the ground here? 11 touchdowns on the split carries with Nick Chubb. the numbers of carries is remarkable to me when you think about it. You were going through those numbers: 272, 181, 43, 198, 78. I mean, his last 3 seasons. 30. His last 3 seasons, he's got less carries than Derrick Henry has on the reg in
in
one.
1 year. Yeah. Oh, so you got a young, explosive, healthy. I think it's ridiculous that he didn't even make it in the receiving votes or honorable mention category because I think that he is that good. It's an interesting top 10 list. Did you look at it? I think we can all agree on the top 5 in whatever order you can. I would lobby, obviously, for Nick Chubb higher, but Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara. 6, Joe Mixon, and Joe Mixon is incredibly solid. He can run, he can catch, he can do it all. 7, Christian McCaffrey, who would be probably in the top 5 were it not for his injuries, right? He hasn't played really in 2 seasons. Najee Harris, number 8, and he was such an accumulator. We talked about that. I don't know. We'll see. He had 307 carries, 74 catches, 307 carries for 1,200 yards rushing. We'll see if that offense changes.
Ben couldn't throw it. I mean, that was a debacle.
No, it was a hard.
Couldn't. It was a hard. I had a ton of respect for him.
I do too. He ran very hard.
He ran very hard, and he caught everything. He took a beating.
Aaron Jones that has at number 9. And, yes, he's quite good. Number 10 on this. How about this? Javonte Williams. Number 10
That's your boy.
On the list. That is my guy. And I expect him to become a real star this year. But he is an incredibly talented runner. Incredibly talented. But they brought Melvin Gordon back. I don't love that.
I'm guessing tomorrow we'll do the 10 best receivers because I see that is up there today on ESPN. So we'll get to that tomorrow on the program. But in terms of all right, so what's your biggest beef? I understand the respect for Henry, but it feels like the time is about out.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't go with Taylor 1 based on what he did last year, right? I mean,
right.
You go in there, and there was a while where he was just a complete one-man wrecking crew. He had 5 runs of more than 40 yards. No other back had more than 2. He was incredibly explosive. And then there's Nick. I think, and Dalvin Cook is elite every single year. And so I think those guys that's it. That's the group. To me, that's even the group. Kamara is such an excellent all-purpose back. Struggled last year. He was hurt. I think he's a total stud. But right now, and he has a chance to get back in that top 5. Obviously, McCaffrey does if he's healthy as well. But in terms of just straight-up runners, Henry, Taylor, Chubb, and Cook that's as good as it gets in the league.
Do you let's and I know this will be kind of fun because this normally guess the stats. You just nail the stats. But I'm going to play a guess the stats for you on Jonathan Taylor, and it's going to be in respect to his college career at Wisconsin. Okay. So he played 3 seasons at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Played 14 games, 13 games, 14 games. What is the fewest amount of rushing yards he rushed for in those 3 years? Fewest amount. He was
13.
Always the starter. He was the starter from the freshman on. Fewest amount of rushing yards he rushed for in those 3 years.
I remember we did something like this, and it was crazy. So I'm going to say 1,750.
1977.
Okay.
So his freshman year, he's 1977. His sophomore year, he's 2194.
I knew he had a couple of 2000s.
His junior year, he's 2013.
Yeah.
Now, for some more perspective on Jonathan Taylor at Wisconsin, the all-time rushing leader in NCAA history is Ron Dane.
Also Wisconsin. His total yards in 4 seasons at Wisconsin, 7,125.
That's
what we're at.
Jonathan Taylor was 1,000 yards less than Dane without a full season play.
That's right.
Had he just played his normal season, he would have outdone Dane by 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
He is Jonathan Taylor is 6th all-time in NCAA rushing yards, despite only playing 3 seasons.
So he's rushed for 1,800 or more yards in 4 out of his last 5 years playing football, 3 in college and 2 in the pros. That's pretty wild.
That's pretty good. That is pretty good. It's probably the quietest 3 straight pretty much 2,000-yard seasons in college ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's stunning that it wasn't – like, I paid attention to it because he was in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you played Guess the Stats with somebody who didn't follow Big Ten football at that time, if you'd have any point of reference of what he did.
And but I knew that it was astronomical.
Prolific.
I knew he had 2 seasons over 2,000. I didn't know what the last one was, so that's why I went 1750. I should have gotten even more ambitious.
Yeah, it was quite. The top 3: Ron Dane, Ricky Williams, Tony Dorsett.
Wow,
that's how that went. That's incredible.
What did
6,
just give me a
174.
comparison because Taylor goes in the second round if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I think you have that right.
Early in the second round to Indianapolis.
God, it's crazy. The highest he ever was in the he was 41st overall. You're right.
Okay.
Highest he was ever in the Heisman was 5th.
So what were Melvin Gordon's stats for comparison's sake? Who was it? I remember the hype on Melvin Gordon around him at Wisconsin was way higher than that of Jonathan Taylor, and he went in the first round.
Well, the senior year for Melvin Gordon is the reason why.
Okay.
So he ran for 25.87 his senior year at Wisconsin and had 29 rushing touchdowns.
So the game when the Buckeyes, I want to say, beat Melvin Gordon and the Badgers, and I don't know if it was a Big Ten championship or
it was
the
Big Ten championship
playoff?
game.
Big Ten championship.
J.T.
Okay.
Barrett was hurt in the Michigan game. Cardale Jones was making his first ever start.
Okay.
Your Uncle Beau was on the field for that one, and they housed him.
Okay, housed him. There used to be a Panini's at the intersection of Somme and Solon Road.
Okay.
Where they have tried so many restaurants from that time on, and now Chick-fil-A is killing it there, but there's still an empty restaurant that was there.
Of course, Chick-fil-A is killing it.
S doesn't drink often. S was asked to leave.
Oh, no.
Panini's. Oh, yeah.
Ohio State beat them 59-0.
Yeah, I remember it being a complete blowout.
59 to nothing.
Screaming at the screen, screaming at people, screaming at patrons. He had a few Christmas sales. I had to take him back. What year was that?
2014.
Yeah.
It probably
That's hilarious.
I mean, it probably cost Taylor the Heisman.
Gordon.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Gordon.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon the Heisman. Well, Mariota won it that year, so it would have been – I mean, he was a finalist. 2,529 touchdowns. Like if they had beaten Ohio State, but they lost 59-0, and everybody just – it was like none of it happened.
Wild.
Yeah, it was. By the most indelible image when I think of that game was walking around. So the team stayed at the JW Marriott in Indy, which you're quite familiar with. You and I are familiar with from the Combine days. And I came down to the lobby, and Cardale Jones was walking around the lobby in a very ill-fitted suit because he was the third-string quarterback.
Sure.
Like nobody thought no one could pick Cardale Jones out of a lineup. And this was proven in that he was walking around in this suit anonymously.
Yep.
Buckeye fans everywhere, nobody even knew what he looked like. He was most famous for a tweet. He's most famous for I didn't come here to play school. That's the tweet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I remember that.
Third-string quarterback.
So he goes on. He leads them to the national championship.
That's correct.
That offseason, the talk of, remember when there was tank for Tua, was fail for Cardale.
Yep. Oh, around here especially.
Were you at all, after watching him and then obviously the next season when things did not go as well, clearly, but were you at all surprised that he had a nothing NFL career?
No.
No.
He came here, he was going to commit. He was going to go pro. He was at Glendale. He was doing his announcement at Glendale. He was convinced to stay at Ohio State because Braxton Miller was coming back from injury, and they didn't know what that was going to look like, and they didn't know what was going to happen with J.T. Barrett. Braxton Miller, there was talk that he was going to transfer. So they turned Miller into a receiver. Then they have Cardale compete with J.T. for the job after they convince him to come back. He should have just went pro there. His stock was never going to be higher than it was after those 3 games. He probably would have been a second-round pick. He goes into the next year in 2015. All those guys are back. Thomas, Elliott, Bosa, all those guys. Goes back in 2015. Urban's running option with him. They're playing Virginia Tech. He's got Cardale Jones running read option. Well, that's not what he is.
No.
No. So they end up going back to JT, and then it was done.
It's outrageous.
Oh, he cost him a lot of money.
He did.
Urban cost him a lot
I don't
of
think
money.
he would have been a good pro.
No, but
regardless.
But the time to strike was right then, and everybody knew it, and there was no reason for him to play another second at Ohio State, and everybody down there knew there was no chance that he would be the long-term quarterback answer for as long as J.T. Barrett was on the roster.
Yep.
Because Urban wanted a guy who'd put his nose in and run it, and that's how that happened, and he paid the price for it, certainly. NFL.com's Kevin Patcher predicts each team's non-quarterback MVP. We'll tell you who our guys are. You probably know. There's the hint. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If your car, truck, or motorcycle accident caused you injury, call the injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk and Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. NFL.com's Kevin Patra predicts each team's 2022 non-quarterback MVP. He has Nick Chubb as our MVP, not Miles. Yeah, I think that's in play. Like, I think Nick could be 1,800-yard rusher.
I think he could be as
Especially
well. I
depending on
think
what
we
happens
should
at quarterback.
score more touchdowns than we have in the years past. And right, we need to get that clarity. And it sounds like now that clarity is going to come the week of July the 25th. Who knows?
Who knows, man?
Just give it to us. We're ready. We're ready to find out, and we're ready to move on. But yeah, I think that's in play. I mean. And I realize this is the non-quarterback MVP, but if you're the Browns, you want Deshaun Watson to be your MVP. And if that's the case, we're going to be in pretty good shape. Miles is on the list. I think that Nick Chubb is on the list. I'll throw out one that I think is a complete and total wild card MVP for you.
Okay.
And it's hard for it to be an MVP, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we've got so much talent on this football team. But I'll give a guy that I think is going to make such an ascent this season that it is going to be difficult to deny his importance and his stature around the National Football League. I'll give you 2 guesses as to who I'm talking about.
Newsom?
Good, very much in the conversation, but that was not where I was going.
I forgot. I was looking for something to buttress another argument as you're going through the categories.
Same side of the ball, though.
JOK?
Also a good one. I'm going to say Grant Delpit. I think
MVP,
Grant
though?
Delpit. I think Grant Delpit is going to become
I agree. Like
a
he could
mega
be
star.
he could burst. It's just there's so many stars on
that's
that
the
defense.
thing, right? But I do think he has that opportunity, and here's why. Grant Delpit is playing one of the most important positions in football, as is Greg Newsom. And I think JOK is a stud, too. That's what's so fun about this. So many guys that we could choose from.
Mm-hmm.
All second-year players, in my mind, by the way, even though it's Delpit's 3rd season technically.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing some research on Grant Delpit and looking some things up about him because I noticed, as he started to click, and he's been a star of this offseason. We are very, very fortunate to have the relationship that we do with Jeff Howard, and so we get a lot of insight to what's going on in that DB room. And, Brandon Lynch spends a lot of time in the corners. He spends a lot of time with the safeties. Grant Delpit, he thinks, is the most improved guy from last year till right now. He thinks he has a chance to be a megastar.
Yep.
I went and I looked from week 12 on. Pro Football Focus grades among safeties. Where do you think Grant Delpit ranked overall and in coverage from week 12 on last year? Pro Football Focus overall grade at the safety position and in coverage.
Give it to me. Give me the number. Where
Eighth
do you go?
overall.
Jeez.
3rd coverage safety in the NFL from week 12 on last year. 3rd.
Pretty
8th
good
overall and 3rd. So, and he wasn't. His best grades of the season all came from week 12 on. That's when it was like the light bulb went on. He started to play much better football. Gets an interception, obviously, against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in that game. I think he has a chance to be really special. Denzel Ward's a name that you would put into this. JOK, I think, is an interesting name to put into this. I think David Njoku would be a name that you would throw into your hat in this, in the sense that, he's a guy that if he gets 100 targets this year, who's say he can't have 800, 900, 1,000 yards, 8, 10 touchdowns with Deshaun Watson? Who's to say that can't happen for him?
Yeah.
So that's a name that becomes interesting. Amari Cooper's a name that becomes interesting. Cade York is a name that's very interesting because that's the one guy, the one newcomer who is guaranteed to be a massive improvement over his predecessor and could make a big difference in our wins and losses.
Who's the last? Did Derrick Henry win MVP?
In the year,
not last year, but like
2 years ago, it would have been.
He won it a couple years ago.
If he did, it would have been 2 years ago because.
And the one that we count it's the AP most valuable player, right? Is that the one that we pay attention to?
No, he did not. He was.
Okay.
It's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers won back to back.
All right, so
he was the offensive player of the year.
Okay, do you have it up?
We
need Connor on the mic.
What do you want?
We get it on guess the. I have it up.
MVP voting.
I want to know the last non-quarterback to win MVP of the league.
I believe it's Adrian Peterson.
Non-quarterback
on offense. I think it's Adrian Peterson. Is that not right? So there's a defensive player?
But I was waiting for Connor to give a guess before I answered you.
I know Adrian Peterson won it.
I'm not sure.
That is correct.
AP? What?
Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson won it in 2012.
When he took them to the playoffs.
Yeah. So that was the last non-quarterback to win MVP. The one before that, so that was 2012. LaDainian won it in 2006.
Okay.
Sean Alexander won it in 2005.
Okay.
So you had a little stretch there. Then it's Falk in 2000. So those are the non-quarterback MVPs since 2000. That's
Is
that's
Sean Alexander in the Hall of Fame yet?
I don't know if he is or not. He gets hurt, I think, because he played in Seattle.
He was the MVP in 2005. Amazingly, only a 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro. He had a stretch, though, where he ran for
he was
what is this? 5 straight years where he ran for 1,175 yards or more. And in the other 5, it was 1318, 1435, 1696, and 1880. And he had at least 14 touchdowns in every one of those seasons. Rushing. 14, 16, 14, 16, 27.
Yeah, he was a fantasy beast.
Monster.
Yeah.
I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. That's a great 5-year.
Give me the last non-offensive MVP.
Lawrence Taylor.
That is correct.
Wow.
1986. That was the last.
I was going to guess him or Reggie White. Those are my only 2 guesses.
The most absurd MVP of all time was Mark Mosley, the kicker, won MVP of the NFL in the strikes short in 1982 season.
82, sure.
Which is brutal.
Did he have a shoe or was he a barefooter?
I think it feels like barefooted, but I could be comparing
right,
him with Rich Carlos.
Oh, yeah.
Here's your. This is pretty interesting because in my head, if you were to ask me like how many MVPs did, because you think about the great running back era, when we were kids.
Yep.
Walter Payton won 1. He won the MVP in 1977. That's it. That's the list. Marcus Allen won it once.
83.
That would have been in it was 1985.
85.
Marcus Allen won NFL MVP in 85. The 85 Bears, and they weren't even in the mix in the postseason.
The Raiders, I don't
Patriots
even
beat
them
him at some point, but I don't remember that at all. But anyway, Allen wins it in 85, and then it's Thurman Thomas wins one in 91. He only wins one. Emmitt Smith only won one, and Barry Sanders won one, but it was 1997 when Barry Sanders won the MVP.
So that year,
I would not have had that. I would have thought it would have been earlier.
85, they go 12-4, win the AFC West. They lose in the divisional round of the playoffs to the Patriots, 27-20. Mark Wilson was the starting quarterback that year. Marcus Allen goes 380 carries, 1759, and 11 touchdowns. Added 555 receiving, 2,314 scrimmage yards, and 14 touchdowns. Jeez Louise.
How in the heck did Eric Dickerson not win MVP? The year he ran for 20, didn't he run for like 2,100 yards? What year is that? With Dickerson.
Dickerson runs for his best 2,105 yards, 14 touchdowns. Eric Dickerson ran for 1,800 or more yards in 3 of his first 4 seasons in the National Football League. He is a 5-time first-team All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah, he's
led the league in rushing 4 times. He was first-team All-Pro that year. He was not the MVP.
What's the year? What year is it?
The Rams, 1984. They go 10-6, finish second in the NFC West. Their
Dan Marino's the MVP that year.
Jeff Kemp that year, they go, again, 10-6. Jeff Kemp, 9-4 as a starter, completes 50% of his passes for 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 7 picks. Dickerson had more yards rushing than he had throwing the football. Dickerson had as many yards from scrimmage as they had passing the football as a team.
Good Lord. So the year that he could have won it is the year that Marino threw for 5,000 yards and 48 touchdowns.
Yep.
In 1984,
it's a quarterback-dominated league.
And you know what? It always has been. Like, you look at this MVP list, it's dominated by quarterbacks. There were more running backs in the 80s and the 90s, but not.
Well, you said Peterson. You said 2012?
Yeah.
So you had Peter. In the 2000s, you had Peterson, LaDainian.
We've only had one in the teens.
Falk?
We've had one in the teens, only Peterson in the teens. And in the 2000s, you had Tomlinson in 06, Alexander in 05, and you had Falk in 2000.
Wow.
So you had 3 of them in the 2000s. And then the teens, we've only had Peterson since 2012. The 90s had Terrell Davis in 98, Barry Sanders in 97, Emmitt Smith in 93, Thurman Thomas in 91. So 4 of the 10 in the 90s went to running back. Steve Young with 2 MVPs in that time. I for some reason, I only remember him having the 1. In the 80s, Marcus Allen won it in 85, Lawrence Taylor in 86. Allen's the only running back winner in the 80s. Only Marcus Allen.
And Reggie White never won one.
Never won one. Nope, never did. Never did. I would not have had Kenny Anderson. So back-to-back years, in 80 and 81, the MVP was a quarterback of an Ohio team, Sipe and Anderson, in 80 and 81. Won it back-to-back.
Give me the teens, the MVPs in the teens. You've got to have.
Rodgers in 11.
Yep.
So Rodgers in 11, Peterson in 12, Manning in 13, Rodgers in 14, Newton in 15, Ryan in 16,
that's the one.
Brady in 17, Mahomes in 18, Lamar in 19.
So Brady
and
won.
Rodgers in 2020.
Brady won. And he won what 2007?
Brady has won 2 MVPs. He won it in 2007 when he threw for 50 touchdowns with Random Moss, and then he won it in 2010. And then 2017, he's won 3 MVPs. So he won it in 10, 17, and 07 are his 3 MVPs, the 3 times. Aaron Rodgers has more MVPs than Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Not in as many rings.
No, but it's such a strange thing, right?
6 fewer.
Because usually,
not mistaken.
like Jordan's got the 6 MVPs. Russell, I think, or no, Kareem has 6, 5 or 6, something like that. But like usually, whoever has the most MVPs is the best is the best player, right? Like the idea that Brady played for this 20-year period and 2 of his peers have more MVPs than him, Manning and Rodgers, both have more. And Payne's got 5.
All right, so Bill
Rodgers
Russell
has 4.
Bill Russell had 58, 61, 62, 63, 65. So he won 5. Kareem won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wilt won 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, then it's Kareem and Jordan. They both won 6.
Kareem and Jordan have 6.
And LeBron's only got 4, I think.
LeBron has 4 and hasn't won one since 2013. He won 9, 10, 12, 13. Derrick Rose sandwich in between 11.
It's a joke he didn't win one of the years he was back here on return.
Do you know what's a joke? Kobe Bryant only having 1, Steve Nash having 2.
Well, I'll give you a better one. The best argument for that is Kobe and Shaq have as many combined as Nash has.
Yeah, Shaq 2000.
Shaq was the most dominant player in the
for a
NBA
long
for like
time.
8 years. He has 1 MVP. Kobe's got 1. Nash has 2. I mean, they got the same amount of Joker.
Hold on a second. Here's the difference, though. Nash's numbers stick out like a sore thumb. So Nash wins the MVP in 2005, 15 points, 3 boards, 11 assists. 2006, 18 points, 4 boards, 10 assists. Like Jokic, this year shoots 57% from the floor, 26 points, 11 boards, 8 assists. This year, 58% from the floor, 27 points, 14 boards, 8 assists. Like the numbers of Steve Nash stick out like a sore thumb on here.
That was that era. Those Sun teams were so much fun. And I want to say, what years were those?
It was 5 and 6. But I'm telling you, okay, so he's the only person since they have stats available, which begins in 1987 for some reason. I don't know why. We know what Larry Bird averaged before that. But I'm going to guess he's probably the only MVP in the history of the NBA to not have scored 20 points a game in the season in which he was named the MVP. He did it twice. Yes, he had the double-digit assists, but the other people who were MVPs with double-digit assists, Russell Westbrook in 2017, 32 points, 11 boards, 10 assists. Magic Johnson, who won it,
He won it 3 times.
3 times,
Yeah.
22 and 11 and a half, 23 and 13, 24 and 12. Like Steve Nash's numbers don't even.
It's crazy. It's
They
a
don't
really
pass
crazy
They
thing.
do not pass the test. I mean, he only shot 50% from the floor. It's like he was out there shooting 100%.
Like, should Duncan have won one of those? I mean, the Spurs were winning championships at that time.
I mean, Duncan won it in 02 and 03 with 26 and 13, 23 and 13. Then Garnett at 24 and 14. Then you have these 2 weird Nash years. Then Nowitzki wins it at 25, 9 and 5. Kobe at 28, 6 and 6.
Kobe should have won the one Nash year. He averaged 35 a game.
Ridiculous.
The one Nash year, he averaged 35 a game, where he scored the 81.
Like, those were fun teams. Sure.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Wonderful. Those aren't MVP numbers. Those are barely all-star numbers.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I'm a big Nash guy, but that's
Same.
pretty crazy.
He's the only person in the history of the league to win that not averaging 20 plus points a game, and he did it twice.
Yeah, it's wild. Also ridiculous. LeBron hasn't won another one. He should have won one in that second stint with us. The MVPs of the second stint here were Steph twice, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. Those are the MVPs in those years. So, yeah,
Wow.
pretty wild. All right, Open Championship is coming up tomorrow at St. Andrews. We will get to that coming up next. Little golf chatter. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Hey there, Beau here for my friends at Renew Home Exteriors, where beautifying and protecting your home is their passion. Upgrade the look of your home and create a high return on that investment. New siding for Renew Home Exteriors, ranging in every architectural style and over 50 colors. Is your $1,500 off, free installation wrap, plus 0% interest for qualified buyers. In addition, Renew Home Exteriors will meet or beat competitors' estimates by up to 10% or pay you $100. Beautify your home with premium siding and roofing products at lower prices with Renew Home Exteriors. Visit renewestimate.com for more. Are you seeing some of the reports out of St. Andrews in terms of the conditions of the course?
No, I just saw what I've seen weather-wise that it's expected to be fairly benign.
So DeChambeau hit a 6-iron 327 today.
Because
it's that dry.
Okay.
So it's like an airport runway. Now, I think some people think that means that it will be easy to play for these guys. I think it's going to be very unpredictable for them to play.
It's somebody who, again, I've played there. It is unpredictable because it when the ball's on the ground for that long, there's a bunch of bumps and it could end up, and it wants to ultimately flow into the bunkers. That's a natural curvature of the land. That's where it leads to. So, no, I think that will make it very difficult because, folks, golf at the highest level for these people, these pro golfers, is quite simply about precision and the ability to control distance. It's distance control that allows you to get proximity close to the hole, which allows you to make more putts.
Target golf.
When you can't control what the ball is going to do on the ground and it's going to spend a lot of time on the ground, that is one of the hardest things to learn about going over there and playing links golf. It's why it is very, very difficult because the ball doesn't just – it's not like you hit it straight at the green. Let's say you hit it straight at the pin from – you could be 110 yards out and the wind is coming at you so hard that you've got to play like a 7-iron, but that you're basically just chipping, and then it's going to run the whole way. It could meander right. You don't know necessarily what it's going to do. So that becomes very difficult to make it a precise shot. And I think that is one of the things that is – distance isn't their problem there. It's going to be their ability to get it close on the greens, which do not roll like the great bent greens of some American courses. There are bumps, and they are impure. They are imperfect. That's going to make it tough. Is this, Gibby put on here, is this the best course the PGA plays at period? No. Is it maybe the most magical? Yes. Is it the most historic? Without question. It's an incredibly special place. It is far from the nicest course. It's not
Augusta. There's all sorts of country clubs in the United States that are more manicured, more procured, more
subjective.
All of that. Yeah, of course.
It is the majesty and the magnificence of the birthplace of golf, where championships have been played for centuries.
Yes, the 150th Open Championship.
Right, and the first one was played at, we talked about Royal Prestwick, which is such a cool, crazy bananas course in its own right. And I think this one is but there's stuff that is not traditional. It's not target golf. It's not, I'm going to throw it up in the air and I hit this exactly 150 yards and it's going to hit it exactly at 150. You have no idea what it's going to do in the air, and you have no idea what it's going to do on the ground.
Do you think that this, and I want to say, for some reason it always comes to my head as Royal Liverpool, but I don't think it is. The one where Tiger didn't hit driver, like 15, 20 years ago, he played a major and he didn't hit driver. He hit iron off of every tee and he won it, kind of going away. Might have been one out of London. I can't remember which one it was. For some reason, I say Royal Liverpool, but I'm pretty sure it's not that. But he never hit driver. And I do wonder if, and I don't think he's got a chance because I think his swing is really stiff, and just watching him walk looks like it hurts.
So it was 2006 at Hoylake.
That's it. Yeah.
He hit one driver all week.
Yeah. So you wonder, like, because of the way it's playing, does this make it more winnable or contendable for him?
So the thing that helps
how
him,
smart he is.
Yes, that will help him. Number two,
hey, there's Gibby.
What I think will really help him in terms of just the physicality is there isn't a ton of undulation. There isn't a ton of elevation changes. It's flat, and you walk it. I mean, so he's not going to have to deal with going up steep inclines, down, maybe in and out of some bunkers. But I think that I think that's going to help him in terms of his ability to physically endure. Is he going to be 100%? No, we know that. But I think it will help him endure a little bit. And he made some equipment changes for the Open, which I think are some interesting ones that they talked about. And so one of the things in his last tournament, the PGA Championship, he was using a 9-degree driver with a shaft from 2018. He's got a new shaft in, a Fujikura Ventus Black 6X shaft in the TaylorMade Stealth Plus driver. Ooh, we have the same driver. I didn't like the 9-degree. I had to go 10.5. He has a new shaft in his P773 iron, switching from True Temper's new Dynamic Gold Tour issue. The mid shaft was launched in 2022, designed for slightly higher spin and launch angles.
So what's he going for with this stuff? Like, can you tell me what this means? Like, what's he trying to do?
So we took a 5-wood over a 2-iron. So we took a 2-iron out, put a 5-wood in.
Morikawa did the opposite. He put a 2-iron in, took the 5-wood out.
The shaft with the 3-iron is now his driving iron, and he put a shaft in there that's going to launch it lower. So in essence, trying kind of turning that in. He's got a 56, a 60-degree wedge.
I mean, if there is because I think it's really going to be almost nearly impossible for him. If there is a golf gods, it feels like Rory McIlroy ought to win this. It's the 150th. I mean, like, it's at St. Andrews. Like, if this feels like Rory's time to go win, his second claret, doesn't it? It's been a long time since he's won. Yeah. He's playing really well. He's been very outspoken. One other thing I want to run by you.
By the way, he is the odds-on favorite to win.
Roars?
Yep. He's plus 1,000. Xander Schauffele, Jordan Spieth plus 1,800. Rom Scheffler 2,000. Matt Fitzpatrick, Justin Thomas 2,000, 2,200.
I do think someone who grew up playing on this type of golf is like Rory grew up in this. I would assume that that would help him.
Like, I think DeChambeau, now he could dominate the course with his length, but I could see him shooting like $1 billion out here.
Yeah, I could see him doing that too. So I do think it was noteworthy, really quick. I only have about a minute or so on this. Tiger was very strong against the live guys. But the one thing that he said, and I'm not interested in that, but I do think this is noteworthy. He said, we don't know what the majors are going to do with this. I think that was noteworthy because he doesn't go off the reservation. He doesn't say things controversial. That's not his tune at all. So he mentioned, I don't know what the majors are going to do out of this. And today, the chairman of the R&A, Royal and Ancient, that runs it, said that the Live Tour is giving golf a bad name. So that's one thing to pay attention to out of this is, will the other majors be like, jump on with the PGA Tour and the European Tour and say, these guys aren't in? You can think about it what you want, but for Tiger to say it, to me, that's noteworthy.
It certainly is noteworthy. And look, Tiger, the ultimate competitor, he liked it, and there were a lot of guys, obviously, that liked the fact they had to go out and grind and play all these different events to earn their living. I don't understand if a sport has gotten to the point where somebody's willing to compensate you before you ever swing a club, why that's bad and why people who accept that should be vilified.
No, and that
but
we've litigated
that was a big part of what he was
for
saying.
Sure. Yes, to me, the most noteworthy thing he said was
the majors.
The majors. Is that conversation happening?
That would seem so shady to me. It's not a major championship if the best golfers aren't in it, and the best golfers, regardless of where they are in the world, should be in it.
Yeah.
Period.
So much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. So it's happening today. It's happening tonight. Is that what we decided? Maverick, it's on.
Back on.
Full steam ahead. Send them.
Let's go. I'm excited now. Now I'm very excited.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. That's going to be, we'll do 20 minutes on that at the start of tomorrow's show.
Perfect.
That's how that's going to go.
Yeah.
TBD. No.
Maverick.
Maverick. Review. Lock it in. You have that
I'm planning on giving it like my buddy Wes Barkley does these World Food Tour reviews from the AIW Wrestling, and sometimes he gets his numbers and his grades together, and I'm planning on giving this like 100 out of a 10, A+.
I think you're going to enjoy it a great deal. I look forward to your thoughts. The next level's coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.